Jeff Jarrell, what's the main thing that you've learned in your lifetime so far?
Skip, the main thing that I have learned in my life is to be genuine when dealing with others and to not be afraid to say the words, "I don't know."
That was the main thing. Timeless wisdom shared by our wise guests here on the Main Thing podcast. It resonated with us, perhaps rather deeply. You spoke up. You said, we want more from these wise thought leaders. We heard you loud and clear, and so we are reconnecting with a few of our most popular guests from seasons 1 and 2. We will revisit those guests and revisit their wisdom, their main thing. What will we find? Some say true north will always be true north. Others say there's nothing permanent except change. Has it remained the primary driving force in their life? Or has something new taken that place of prominence in their heart and mind? Here in this special episode of Wisdom Revisited, we'll find out how each prior guest has applied and perhaps evolved their wisdom. Here we go. Jeff Jarrell, it is such a delight to have you back on the Main Thing podcast.
Skip, this is an honor and a pleasure, and this is a treat for me this afternoon.
Jeff, folks just heard your main thing from May 2020. That is almost exactly 3 years ago. It got me thinking about, Jeff, the situation when we recorded, where we recorded, and if anyone rewinds their clock back to March of 2020 or April of 2020, that puts us squarely in COVID. I have to guess that we recorded just prior to COVID shutting down everything.
I was on my cell phone walking around my bedroom, which was a makeshift office. And we were pretty much on close to lockdown, close to quarantine. And it was a surreal feeling. And I think back then we all had the thought that, based on what we were being told and what little information was out there, man, this thing will be over in a couple of weeks. This thing will be over in another couple of weeks. Temporary.
You're right.
Temporary,
absolutely.
Still here, pal.
That was the mood. That was the hope. That was the feeling. I've got a classic photo selfie I took at the CrossFit gym. I had just coached a class and we knew we were shutting down. I wrote in the marker on the whiteboard, "See you all in 2 weeks." And I had the date, April, whatever it was. See you then. And that's what we thought. Those were our expectations at that time. How wrong we were.
Well, as a financial advisor, probably my biggest job is to manage client expectations. And unfortunately, without being political, I don't think the government, I don't think the powers in charge, the leaders, did a great job of managing societal expectations, although they didn't know what they were dealing with. I give them a hall pass for that.
Right.
But still, they didn't do a good job of managing societal expectations.
Jeff, let's remind folks, you mentioned financial planner. Let's give them an update on who am I talking to today? Jeff Jarrell. First of all, I'll start, but then let's just kind of kick it back and forth. You're one of my best friends. So folks, you're listening to someone who is one of my best friends in the whole world, someone who I admire greatly, someone who is a trusted advisor with my finances, but also an advisor in advising me on matters of family and life and friendship and helping me set goals. Jeff, what else should they know about you for folks to understand who they're hearing from today?
Coffee lover, coffee snob to a degree. I'm not a K-cup kind of guy. I just can't. I just can't do that anymore. Gosh, I love my family. I love my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
I love people. I love making people happy.
Yeah.
Love serving others.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about, Skip. We're not, if you go to our company's website, you'll see a quote from me on there. We were put on this earth to serve others, not to be served.
Yeah. Right.
And
absolutely.
Absolutely. Gosh, if people would practice that, oh my, what a great world it would be.
I'll take another turn at defining who they're hearing from today. Jeff Jarrell is the best person I know at inviting and including others. You have a superpower for thinking up cool things to do and inviting me and other folks to join you in that. You always have a great idea. Hey, Skip, let's go do this. And 9 times out of 10, my head starts nodding. I'm going, yeah, I want in on that. Thanks for asking me. That sounds really fun. So that's, to me, one of your superpowers. Share with our listeners kind of what's been going on since they heard from you in episode 19 nearly 3 years ago.
Wow.
A lot.
Change and adapt.
Yeah.
Change and adapt. You and I love March Madness, and it's all about win and advance.
Yes.
This has been change and adapt. So let's see, Skip.
Well, you've moved. I'll start. You've moved cities.
Yeah. So last summer, so for some of your listeners that know me, this might be a shock. They may not know. We moved to the north side of Columbus, Ohio. We did that for our son, Noah, who just turned 23, and he has autism.
Right.
And we did it for services and for his future.
Yeah.
And we are so thankful that we did that. Let's see. I've had the Tiger Woods microdiscectomy back surgery since we last visited.
Right.
So that's low back surgery, November of 2020.
Yes.
And then sadly, we had a falling out with our youngest daughter, and parentally had to do the hardest thing we've ever done, which is ask her to leave the house, kick her out of the house, and tell her that we loved her with all of our hearts, but we just didn't love what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents can identify with that at some point in rearing their children.
Parenting is not easy.
No, it's not for sissies.
I just want to say, I've already said how much I admire you. In this case, I admire your authenticity. I was not going to bring that up. I didn't know if you'd want to talk about it on air. And so thank you for just keeping it real and sharing with our listeners. I think that gives you relatability and credibility that you're not Mr. Instagram highlight reel. Life is easy breezy. Everything's perfect. And, let's just let's just float along.
No. So that happened. We did the move. And then not shortly after we had moved, the old right knee bugaboo really kicked in. And I had total knee replacement December of 22. So I'm 4 months post-op and doing well, but I'm telling you, I am the bionic man, dude.
Folks will have just heard your main thing wisdom, which you shared with us. Again, episode 19, May 2020, you said, don't hesitate to say, I don't know when you don't know. And that was unique. It was a valuable block in the foundation of this wisdom conversation that we've been running for the last 4 years. Very valuable. And it goes back to your inherent organic authenticity. So you're on here today in something called Wisdom Revisited. So let's revisit that main thing that you shared 3 years ago, Jeff. Is that still your true north on your compass? Is that still something that guides your life, or has your main thing changed or evolved?
I would say it is still vitally important. But the past 3 years since you and I last did this, I've learned a much more valuable lesson, in my opinion. Skip, the lesson that I have learned, the lesson that I have been taught has been just move forward. Just move forward with every facet of your life. Move forward with your really close personal relationships. Move forward. You and I are, to coin a phrase, health nuts.
Right.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
But for somebody just starting out, it can seem daunting. If you're learning to play the piano for the first time, just starting out seems daunting. just move forward. Just move forward. You get knocked down, just get up, move forward, take that first step. But I think that if we can do that, if we can remember that we should be always moving forward, again, with every facet of our lives, our spiritual lives, our health lives, our relationships with our kids and with friends and with our spouses. And it just makes life so much richer, so much fuller, so much more enjoyable. It's so easy to wallow in our self-pity and say, woe is me. The system is stacked against me. Everybody's against me. And you know what? For about 5 minutes, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have yourself a good cry. Have yourself a pity party. Get angry, right?
Yes.
Get angry for 5 minutes. But then you know what? Put it behind you and move on. Move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The old saying is, hey, what happened in the past is the past. What happened in the past is the past. But what's in front of you can be a better day, but you got to make it that better day.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make it that better day. And if you'll get up in the morning and you're going to say, today's going to be a good day, there is some scientific evidence that it is a trigger in your brain to the emotional part of your brain, and you will have a better day. It doesn't mean you're not going to have something bad happen, but you've got to set your own tone for the day. Yeah. You've got to control the day, Skip. Don't let the day control you.
No, I like it. Jeff, I'm reminded, I want to share 2 quick thoughts with you. These are reactions to what you're saying, this wisdom that you've shared with us today about the importance of move forward. And what you just gave an example there reminds me of our most recent guest, Maureen Doyle, who talked to me about, what story are you telling yourself today? Life is so much, our success is so much a product of the stories we tell ourselves. And are you telling yourself a good story? So I think you just gave us a great example there of how that comes into play. The other one is one of the most powerful life lessons that I've learned, and I shared it on YouTube in a story about my days at Frontier Communications when I had a chance to meet a fellow named Greg, the technician. And he was a super performer. He was standard deviations better than every other person like him that did the same job he did. And I had a chance to travel with him one day, and in his white truck in between appointments, I said, Greg, what's your secret, man? Well, how can you be 30 to 50% better than everybody else? He said, Skip, it's real simple. I pull up the ticket, the next job of work I have to do, and I look at it, I read it, I think about it for a second, and I say, well, that's going to be easy. And that was the secret to his success. And that success was borne out in hard business metrics and measurables that were sustained over years. Mm-hmm. He tells himself it's going to be easy. He moves forward.
Don't have that word can't in your vocabulary. Just move forward and you will.
Powerful, powerful. Jeff, I want to take you to the book, and I want to ask you to talk about a time in life where you got knocked down and you had to move forward. And in fact, you had to crawl on your hands and knees.
On October 19th, 1984, a Saturday night that changed my life forever for the good. Mm-hmm. But I was headed home about 11:30 on a Saturday night, and I was in my little red Ford Escort and Skip, it had the black louvers on the rear window, and I'd spent a lot of money on subwoofers and all that in the car, and like every testosterone filled boy my age. But I get run off the road, and I hit my head against the windshield and ended up in a ditch, and had a concussion and was in shock And I guess self-preservation just kicked in. So I crawl on all fours across the two lanes coming down Greenbrier Street. And I'm in the two lanes going up Greenbrier Street. And guy's taking his girlfriend home in his pickup truck that night. And he thinks that I'm a plastic garbage bag. No joke. That's what was in the police report. So he hits me broadside and drags me about 40 yards is what we were told.
Oh.
And he stops because his girlfriend heard me screaming.
Oh.
And they used airbags to inflate the rear of his pickup truck. I was beneath the right rear axle. And I woke up on Monday afternoon and my mother was staring at me and my left leg was in traction. My hip had been dislocated, my left hip, and it had been surgically popped back in. Yeah, left hip was dislocated, right leg was crushed right above the ankle, and my back looked like hamburger. My right ear had been shaved off, and it was hanging by the earlobe. And they put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And 5.5 weeks later, I went home from the hospital about 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving, and started all over again.
Well, that's a great opening to a book, and it would be a great fiction story, but it's actually true. Jeff, the book is so exciting. Thank you for letting me read a manuscript, a draft. Thank you for letting me look at some of the illustrations. I can't wait to get a copy and to read it and to share it, because I know it's keeping in this theme of move forward, because in life we'll have setbacks. We might get in a car wreck and get hit by a truck, and you've got to have a comeback from that. Your knee goes out. You've got to have knee surgery, replacement. That's a setback. You've got to have a comeback from that. And that's the theme of your book, isn't it?
It is. It is just, hey, look, you know what? You're going to get knocked down in life, and that little voice in your head telling you to get up, that's God just wanting you to get up. He's not asking you to get up and run a marathon. He's not asking you to get up and sprint. He just wants you to get up and take that first step forward.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park. You're going to get knocked down again. But you know what? If you'll just keep getting up and moving forward, that is what life is all about.
Jeff, do we have a title for the book yet?
Setbacks and Step-Ups.
There we go. And what's the current schedule and when it'll be available?
So Skip, Christmas Day for me is coming in mid-May when a box will show up to my house. I've purchased the first 100 books that I'm going to autograph and give away to family and friends and clients and things like that. And then hopefully I get to share it with some small groups, some church groups, some FCA groups or what have you. But that's the timeline, somewhere around mid-May.
Awesome. Christmas comes in May. If listeners want to acquire a copy once we publish this show and they're listening right now, could they reach out to you to purchase a copy?
They could reach out to me. Skip, I've learned a lot about writing a book through this process, but my understanding is they'll also be able to go to Amazon and buy it on Amazon. It's going to be an inexpensive book, somewhere in the $7 to $8 range. And I don't want a penny out of this. So I'm going to donate all of the proceeds are going to CARES for West Virginia, which is a nonprofit that does advocacy for folks with autism, which is near and dear to my heart.
Fabulous. Really applaud your generosity, Jeff. Setbacks and Step-Ups. Did I get it right?
Setbacks and Step-Ups. You sure did.
By Jefferson K. Jarrell.
Can't wait.
With illustrations by
my favorite Tennessee volunteer, Chloe Linneberg, someone near and dear to your heart.
You plan, you execute your plans. So as we sit here today in April of 2023 and books coming out next month, what's on your horizon beyond that, Jeff Jarrell?
Skip, for one of the first times in my life, I'm going to revert back to one of my main things, which is I don't know. And what I mean by that is I do have a life-changing event coming up here in the future that I'm not at liberty to talk about today, but it's going to free up some time for me. And I've been very open. I'm trying to be very patient, and just whatever is God's will for this free time that I'm going to have, I keep telling him my heart is open, my mind is open, I'm ready, whatever. Lay it on me.
Yeah.
Again, let's go. You know me, I won't sit still. I won't let dust collect underneath my feet. I would love to get involved with something to do with kids. I would love to get more involved using the book with church youth groups, FCA huddles.
Right on.
I would love to be a mentor to kids that are thinking about getting into the business world. That kind of thing. I think I have a lot of experience and hopefully some wisdom to share there.
I'll vouch for that. This is a community. Our listeners and all of our guests that have been on the Main Thing podcast, as they heard what they just heard, as you sort of confessed what you just confessed to say, I'm open to something new. We'll have your contact information in the show notes. And so folks have an idea. If that sparked an idea and someone said, I want to get Jeff involved in this, don't hesitate. Move forward on that notion that you had and contact Jeff. He does have so much to offer. Jeff, I want to thank you personally for being such a staunch supporter of the show, as a former guest, as a regular sponsor, as a frequent sponsor of episodes, and now as a patron. Just really thank you so much for supporting what we're doing here and our ongoing work.
Skip, you've got the best podcast in the business, and I really think that the information that you are providing and the types of guests, me not included, the types of guests that you have on there, they just provide such practical, spot on, take it, listen to it, go apply it type of wisdom that is missing today and would make our world a better place if everyone would put it into use.
Well, thank you. It's a labor of love. Couldn't do it without support from folks like you. Thank you so much for sharing your heart today, for letting me revisit your wisdom, and for sharing such an encouraging message to us and such a helpful, valuable message with us all today.
Skip, thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me plug the book, talk about a labor of love. Thanks for letting me do that. And anytime I can help, I'm here.
Hey, Jeff, so long for now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wow, that goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. I hope you're left wanting more. Sync up with us again next time on The Main Thing for 9 more minutes of wisdom. Let's be honest, it's not easy to ask for help or talk about money. Hey, it's Skip here, and many listeners like you continue to ask me, what do you need to continue to develop and build this show? Well, for context, it takes our team about 15 hours of work to produce each one of these packages of wisdom that we deliver to you in podcast form. Really, what we need as we enter season 3 of this show is funding to cover our costs. So in response, I formed a site on the Patreon platform where you can elect to become a supporting patron of the Main Thing podcast. Now, there are 3 levels you might consider, ranging from $6 to $27 per month. It's all safe and secure, and you can explore the options at patreon.com/themainthingpodcast. Now, how will we use the funding? Funds provided by you and other patrons will be used to defray the costs of production, promotion, and our recurring technology expenses each month. In short, you will be helping to keep this pipeline of wisdom flowing. Thanks.